Good morning, everybody. This is a video I needed to make for Randy, our patent attorney, and I thought I would share it with some of my other friends. It's about some control stuff that we've been doing over in Thailand. We call this technology giving hands and feet to AI. Using AI in control systems is nothing new. Back in the 1980s, we used to use it in temperature controllers, and Tesla's, of course, been doing the self-driving cars using AI. But this technology that we've been working on is using the large language models for control. And this has to do with a larger strategy towards putting the large language models to work in running businesses. We set up a demonstration in Thailand using a toy crane in order to demonstrate this concept. So the first thing we did was we had Soam wire up a microcontroller to a toy crane. We used an ESP32 microcontroller, and we wired it up to a motor controller that we got off Lazada, which is the Philippines version of Amazon. And then we told Claude GPT to write an interface app for us that runs on Windows. The interface app combines two things together. First, it takes a context that is pre-written by, let's say, an engineer who designed the crane, and a command, let's say from somebody who needs a truck unloaded by the crane, and we combine those two things together and send them off to the large language model and tell it to write the code to do that. Then the code gets squirted into the microcontroller. So here you can see we have the microcontroller connected to a motor controller, which is the red circuit board, and that is connected to the toy crane. And then we have a distance sensor that's ultrasonic that is also tied to the microcontroller to detect when the truck comes into place to be loaded. So here is what we call the context, and this is just a description of how the crane is wired up to the microcontroller. And it has some information in it about how you're operating a toy crane, you're using MicroPython as the language, and your job is to take the command from the operator and convert it into MicroPython. And then it also describes how the ultrasonic sensor works for detecting when the truck comes in to be loaded. Then it goes on to describe how the crane and the distance sensor for detecting the truck are wired up. So then we combine that context with our instructions, and these are the instructions of what we want the crane to do. So these instructions basically say, pick up the bucket, clear the laptop lid, which is 11 inches high, then go down, then swing the boom around, then when the sensor sees the bucket, then pick it up and wait for the truck, and then when the truck comes into place, load the truck. But then at the end of the instructions, Soam added in the Thai language, put the hook back where you found it. And it did it. So then I copied and pasted those instructions into the little interface app that we had developed, and I pressed the go button. Hello, everybody. I was wanting to do a demo here of a new technology that we've developed. So this technology, we call it on-the-fly code generation, or giving hands and feet to AI. See, right now, if you've ever used ChatGPT or Claude, you realize that AI is already much, much smarter than a human being. But AI doesn't have hands and feet. So this technology is about giving hands and feet to artificial intelligence to be able to actually manipulate things. And my son works for a Fortune 500 company, and he had made the comment that everything he's seen out there, all the shows they've been to, all the people they talk to in the AI field, he said, nobody's actually doing what we're doing here. So I'm going to give a demonstration of this, and the way this works is we we have a microcontroller set up. We want to zoom in over here. So we have a toy crane connected to a microcontroller that's connected to a motor controller that controls the crane, and then we have an ultrasonic sensor here to detect when a truck comes in to be loaded. The idea is that we take a command from a user, an operator, and that describes what they need the crane to do, and then the AI generates software to accomplish that. Now, it's important to note there's no software in that microcontroller yet, okay? Other than its bootloader. There's no code in there to operate the crane. No drivers, anything. So, are you ready to see something that nobody else has ever seen before? Okay, now when the truck goes over the sensor, it'll finish. And this worked the very first time we tried it. I don't know how to emphasize the importance of what you just saw, and that you are the first people to ever see this happen. What just happened was that artificial intelligence wrote software from human instructions, which is happening every day. Programmers are using it to write software, but the idea of automatically putting it into control systems with a context that describes the control system, that's something that's never been done, and it changes everything. So to summarize what just happened, a description of the crane wiring and a command to unload the truck were sent to ChatGPT, and the command was in English and in Thai. ChatGPT translated that command into the Python language. The program was automatically sent to the controller, and the crane loaded the truck. So, a quick summary. In order to do automatically what you just saw happen, one would need to come up with the command of how to load the truck and then give it to a group of programmers who would write software for a controller, and then the crane could unload the truck. What we just did was we used artificial intelligence to change that. Now we can write a command, unload the truck, send it off to ChatGPT. It writes code in Python that automatically gets put into the controller, sent to the crane, and the crane unloads the truck. But even this method is a little bit overcomplicated in that we have ChatGPT write Python code, and then we put that into a traditional microcontroller computer that executes that code. In the future, we'll be able to change that by having silicone chips that have a trained AI model in them that we can just give the command to, and it unloads the truck. Okay, so I would be remiss if I didn't include a slide to manage expectations here. I mean, this technology is not ready for prime time. ChatGPT throttles the output of their model. Um, one thing I noticed was the longer I made the context, the worse this thing actually controlled it. It was happier with a short context, and that depends on the the size prompt that you can feed into ChatGPT. Um, it seems like it also got stupider. The longer that you used it, it seemed to pick up bad habits or something. And then also, AI has a tendency to remember the beginning of what you tell it and the end of what you tell it, but forget the stuff in the middle. So, to actually use this in a real control application, you would need to build some safety features around what it can and can't do. And I think that will become a whole new industry, actually. So that concludes this video. I'm going to be putting out 3 more videos here in the next week or 2. The first one's going to be on the AI Business Director, which is using AI to actually run the upper level of a business by knitting different models together. And the next one will be on how I've used AI for one of my customers for doing data analytics. And then the last one will be about how Sanctuary will be using AI in point of sale systems.